Imagine being 18 years old, bleeding on a sidewalk, desperately telling the police standing over you that you've been stabbed and you cannot breathe. But instead of rushing to provide medical aid, the responding officers roll the teenager onto his side, pull his hands behind his back, and lock them in handcuffs. As he loses consciousness, an officer formally arrests him for assault. That teenager was Henry Nowak. He was a first-year university student who had been walking home to his accommodation in Southampton after a night out with friends. Tragically, Henry did not survive the attack. For his father, Mark Nowak, the grief is compounded by a bitter reality. He was forced to watch body cam footage of his son's final moments, a scene he describes as inhumane, knowing his son was robbed of basic care and a dignified death. We rely on police to instantly read chaotic situations. So we have to ask how highly trained officers can misinterpret a crime scene so completely that they handcuff the dying victim while leaving the armed killer untouched. The error began before officers even arrived on Belmont Road that December night. A 999 emergency call made by the killer's brother planted a specific, deceptive premise in the minds of the dispatchers. When police pulled up to the scene, 23-year-old Vickrum Digwa immediately supplied a fabricated story. He claimed Henry had racially abused him and knocked his turban off, and that he had only acted in self-defense. Stepping into an incredibly tense and confusing environment, the responding officers defaulted to the story that was presented to them first. They accepted Digwa's narrative without immediate skepticism. The contrast on the street was stark. Digwa was treated with basic decency and left without handcuffs, while Henry, bleeding heavily and crying out for help, was treated as a violent suspect. Pacing quickens slightly. First responders are highly vulnerable to first-mover deception. In those crucial, chaotic early minutes, whoever is calmest and speaks first often dictates the entire police response. But the courtroom would later reveal a completely different reality. The judge dismissed the racism claims entirely, establishing that the attack was unprovoked and carried out by a man with a documented obsession with weapons. This timeline reconstructs the physical evidence, mapping out the true sequence of events. Henry was sober, well under the drink-drive limit. He tried to escape by climbing over a nearby fence, leaving a trail of blood as Digwa stabbed him 5 times, including a fatal wound to the chest. After the killing, Digwa handed the murder weapon to his mother, who attempted to hide it. When police later searched their family home, they discovered a cache of more than 20 other weapons. For his actions, Vickrum Digwa was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum term of 21 years. Physical evidence eventually stripped away Digwa's story in court. But that forensic clarity offered no protection to Henry on the street, where the officers ignored the physical reality unfolding right in front of them. Following the trial, Hampshire Constabulary referred itself to the Independent Office for Police Conduct to investigate serious concerns about the impartiality of responding officers. The fallout extended beyond police procedure, centering on the murder weapon itself. Section 139 of the Criminal Justice Act generally bans bladed articles in public, but includes a defense if possessed for religious reasons, like a Sikh kirpan. The judge noted that Digwa brought shame upon his religion by weaponizing his Sikh faith to justify carrying the dagger. The Sikh Federation publicly condemned the act, explaining the blade used was not a genuine religious kirpan and defending their community against a wave of misdirected anger. When an individual exploits a legal exception to indulge a lethal obsession, and the resulting cultural shockwaves do immense damage, placing marginalized groups directly in the crosshairs of public outrage. The tragedy soon reached the highest levels of government discourse. Prime Minister Keir Starmer addressed the case directly, acknowledging the family's trauma and emphasizing the urgent need to break the national cycle of knife crime. The conversation even crossed international borders, drawing sharp criticism from prominent figures, including Elon Musk, who used the case to question the strictness and structure of the UK's weapon laws. But for Mark Nowak, this is not about international politics. His ongoing fight is a demand for a fearless, transparent overhaul of how police officers assess dynamic, high-stakes environments. We ask the police to find the truth in the darkest moments. Ensuring another family doesn't have to endure this nightmare requires dismantling the institutional blind spots that allow rushed judgments to strip victims of their dignity when they need help the most.